This is Will Phillips, State Director with AARP Minnesota. We are here today to talk about the work that we're doing around voter engagement. And AARP has a long, proud history of engaging in elections whenever they come up, doing so as a nonpartisan organization, not endorsing candidates, not giving money to campaigns, but rather really focusing on making sure that voters know where the candidates stand on the issues, and that candidates are addressing issues that are important to the 50 plus population and AARP members. Part of that work this year is also focused on making sure that people can vote safely. In the midst of a global pandemic that we're all dealing with, being able to have options to vote safely, either in person or from home, are really important. And here joining us today to talk about that is Dan Corman, who's a senior attorney with the AARP Foundation in its litigation department. So Dan, welcome to the conversation. And I'm hoping that you can get us started today talking about a lawsuit that's been filed here in Minnesota around the issue of voting access.
Will, thanks for the opportunity. It's great to have a chance to talk to the folks out there. We were invited by lawyers who filed a suit in mid-June on behalf of the NAACP for Minnesota and the Dakotas and a couple of older voters who were very concerned that a couple of things in state law would make it really hard for them to vote. One is a provision in Minnesota law, like only 12 other states or 11 other states, 12 total, that requires voters who want to vote absentee to have someone witness their casting their ballot. And of course, for people sheltering in place, that could really be a big problem. And that includes lots of older voters with all kinds of underlying conditions. And the other issue really raised in this lawsuit was the overall problem of voting safely by absentee and going through the whole application process, which is difficult and could, again, get people out of sheltering. And so the idea was to ask the Secretary of State to send every registered voter an absentee ballot, so they had that option.
Mm-hmm. So Dan, I think we've talked a little bit about why AARP would care about this, but I think in the process of filing our brief, right, in support of this lawsuit, we found a couple of folks who really illustrated why this is a concern for older Minnesotans, and I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes, well, that was really a great contribution, frankly, from people in AARP associated work in Minnesota to voters 177, 187, Dorothy Lundquist and Marie Mayer, who are both in independent living in Rochester, Minnesota, and have really felt that voting, like a lot of our members and other people over 50, voting's an important commitment they make. And they have underlying conditions and they are sheltering very strictly. And they were very concerned even about having to interact with another person in order to get that witness signature done. So in our brief, we laid out a lot of the data about how older people have the conditions that are making voting safely difficult. We talked about Minnesota constitutional law, but we also presented the stories of Dorothy and Marie. And I think that's the kind of thing that really resonates really with judges. You know, at bottom, judges are real people too, and stories matter.
Yeah, Dorothy and Marie, that's why AARP cares about this, because if they're unable to cast their ballot safely, then that's a problem. And that's exactly, of course, why we filed this suit. And we've had a ruling pretty quickly. So can you just quickly tell us kind of the status of things as they stand right now?
Sure. I think because the various litigants, including AARP in filing its friend of the court brief and telling the stories of Dorothy and Marie, persuaded the judge in state court to approve what voters and litigants, I think, persuaded the Secretary of State, Steve Simon, to do, which was agree not to enforce this witness requirement in the circumstances of COVID-19 for the November election. So that witness requirement may be something that people have to be concerned about down the road, but not this November. So that is done and dusted. And there's also part of that was allowing people to file absentee ballots up until Election Day. And as long as those ballots get through in the mail 7 days after Election Day in November, they will be counted. And that is a more generous approach, and something that, AARP also can be proud of playing a part in getting done.
Very good. Well, we very much appreciate your work in all of this, the work of the AARP Foundation. The takeaways, of course, is that for the primary that we have coming up next week here in Minnesota, and then also the November general election, there will be no requirement to have a witness signature if you choose to vote absentee. And of course, if you want to go to the polls, they're still going to be open. They're taking safety precautions there. AARP is focused on making sure that you know where the candidates stand on key issues like Medicare, Social Security, access to healthcare, but also that you can vote safely in the upcoming elections. And that's what this conversation is about. We've got a website that we're going to flash on the screen here where you can find out more about all the things that you need to know with our elections, including changes as they happen, if they happen in the coming months and weeks. And so we encourage you to go there. And with that, we'll call that a wrap. Dan, thank you very much.
Thank you.